Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the student government candidate debate for the 2014 election. My name is Lauren Lavelle, and I am the current chair of the Student Election Commission, and I'm happy to see all of you here tonight. If you're unaware, we're also televising it on BU TV Channel 10, so hello to all those people at home watching us or on the internet. So to get started, so this is how tonight is going to go. I will introduce the candidates. Each slate will then have 5 minutes to introduce their platform, and then there will be 35 minutes of moderated-led questions. And for that, each slate will have 1 minute to speak. The first slate that speaks, 2 minutes. The first slate to speak will have 2 minutes, and then the second slate will have 2 minutes, and the first slate to speak will have a 1 minute rebuttal period. So at approximately 7:50 tonight, we are going to then start audience asked questions. And those, if you haven't received one yet, you have note cards that you can write questions on. You can also tweet to @BU_election. So for people watching online or at home, you can also tweet in your questions. And then same format as far as times. If it is a directed question at a certain slate, then just that slate will have the 2 minutes to speak. And then hopefully we'll have about 10 minutes for closing remarks. Awesome. And then just a reminder that voting does begin next Monday on the student link. There will be a link online, and you'll be able to vote for these fine candidates. And even though they've chosen to run as slates, they are all elected individually. So you will have the option to vote for them as individuals. Awesome. So we're going to start by introducing the candidates. So first, for the I forgot who won the coin toss. Alexander speaking first. Okay, so the True BU slate is comprised of Alexander Golub as president. He's a sophomore in the College of Fine Arts. Yes. And actually, if we could hold our applause till the end, because we are on a tight time budget, but thank you for your enthusiasm. And then we have Executive Vice President Sandra Soto, who's a sophomore in the School of Education. The VP of Finance is Salma Yiha. No, I said that wrong.
Don't worry about it.
Yiha. And she's a junior in the College of Arts and Sciences. Their Vice President of Internal Affairs is Cassandra Shavney, and she's a junior in the College of Arts and Sciences. And that's True BU. Now you can clap if you want. And then for BU's Push to Start slate, the president is Rich Akal, who's a sophomore in the College of Arts and Sciences. Executive Vice President is Joseph Fermi, a junior in the College of Arts and Sciences. The Vice President of Finance is Joshua Mosby, who's a freshman in the College of Arts and Sciences. And the Vice President of Internal Affairs, Jamie Ellis, a junior in the College of Communications. So we will begin our moderated-led questions. And for that, we have two lovely timekeepers in the front. They'll give you a 1 minute warning, a 30-second warning, and then a time's up. And that's when I will say thank you, and you must cease your conversation. All right, so this first question goes, no, I'm sorry. I emailed this out, and that's why I have this paper here. So before the moderated-led questions, each slate has 5 minutes to introduce their platform. And that's the time that we're going to start with Alexander and the True BU slate. So that, as soon as you begin speaking, your 5 minutes will start.
All right. For you have two campaigns, each vying for your vote, each trying to persuade you that their path for BU is the right one. But the car that my opponent wants to push to start is heading in the wrong direction. The quality of life policies that my opponent lays out before you just scratch the surface of problems that plague the student government. Superficial policies in crucial areas like community engagement have disconnected student government from the student body. A lack of meaningful policies and a lack of communication have allowed BU student government to fail Boston University again and again. We are True BU, a group that derives legitimacy not from administration, but from the voices of the student body itself. You are our leaders, and we are your voice. we have already spent over 200 hours finding the best solutions for your problems. It's where policy research and student participation intersect to find better change in the university. By increasing community involvement, individual empowerment, and campus-wide vision, our plan reinvigorates BU, branding it as a center for innovation and entrepreneurship. Community remains the cornerstone of successful student government. Only through your support can student government make the changes that BU needs. Sadly, the disconnect between the students and their leaders doesn't allow these changes to be made. Not only is there a lack of involvement in student government activities, but also in the student government itself. The Daily Free Press, only a few days ago, mentioned that only an estimated 19% of students participated in last year's election. While student government is not the sole cause of this trend, it certainly can take the first step in revising it. The primary goal of True BU is to make student government a celebration of the students. Only from their relationship can student government have legitimacy in the eyes of the administration. The student government has an obligation to empower its fellow students to accomplish their lofty goals. Sadly, this obligation has not been given the spotlight it deserves by previous administrations. Currently, SAO lacks communication. While over 500 groups are registered in UDO, only a small fraction are still in practice. This lack of information leads to the infamous scarlet tape for student groups on campus. Furthermore, no current data is on file for these clubs, leading to wasted manpower and further confusion. Yet accountability may be the greatest hindrance of student empowerment. The SAO lacks a successful way to keep track of documents and receipts. Financial data is lost daily, and without receipt, there is no way to recover it. The money meant to empower student groups is stuck in limbo. True BU will streamline this process for investing in the work of students and student groups, cutting the red tape and allowing for student returns. By giving grants to specially qualified innovators and entrepreneurs, True BU will provide the kindling to turn your sparks of creativity into bonfires. We will invest in the future of BU, invest in the education of its students, and invest in our relationship in the community. True BU envisions a student government run on the principle of sustainability on 2 counts. First, Boston University must honor its commitment to the environment by divesting from fossil fuels. Environmental sustainability stands as a pillar to Boston University's commitment to future generations at True BU, and True BU stands by the university's pledge. Second, True BU strives to create a political structure centered on efficiency and functionality. Each member of the student government must understand his or her duties and responsibilities. The current framework is outdated and poorly organized. With True BU's initiatives, BU will foster collaboration and better policymaking. True BU's vision empowers the student government to meet the needs of the community. It's time to chart a new course. It's time to realign our compass. It's time to find the true BU.
Thank you. Please to start, your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Great, thank you, Lauren. First and foremost, I know the 4 of us would really just like to thank everybody who came out tonight. We know it's a Thursday night and there's other things that you could be doing, but we really appreciate the support. I am just going to start off and then I'm just going to pass it along to my fellow slate mates here. I think that the really important thing that defines our slate as BU's Push to Start is the fact that we are going to be a very inclusive student government. We've already started this. For those of you who don't know, on our Facebook page, we've already started a campaign where our platform does not just end with our platform. Because at the end of the day, our platform is your platform for change, not just ours. It's really important to us to include the student voice in the agenda that we set and in the decisions that we make. But that's not exactly just where it stops. We would love to see a transparent student government as well as administrative body where students are able to participate in processes, and that's where our inclusivity comes from as well. Jamie will touch upon tuition transparency. We believe that it would be amazing to have SMG students who actually spend their days at school learning about this, use them as the assets that we have at the school to utilize and say, why don't you come in and do an analysis on our tuition? That's the type of inclusivity that we are talking about. Putting students, empowering them, putting them into a place of power. We are looking to begin a human capital network at BU so that we can greater make sure that our assets as students are used to better our community as a whole. Basically what that is a database of student talent where you or anybody else who may need, some things such as graphic design, web design, anything, DJ, you can find those resources within our great university. I'm going to pass it along to Jamie to touch upon a different platform point.
So the second to our overarching missions with our platform is transparency. First and foremost with tuition, we know that change is possible with tuition. Through our relationship with the student body, we obviously know that it's a demand of students that the tuition stop increasing as rapidly and steeply as it often does. We also have fostered relationships with administrators that have made it clear that advances with tuition transparency are absolutely tangible, and they're the first steps in making real changes to our tuition policy. We would love to foster some of the programs that our peer universities have, and we'll touch on that more throughout these debates, but not just within tuition, but in administrative processes in general, transparency is necessary for student government to thrive. I'm sure a lot of you and your student groups were affected by some of the AB policies that were made last year, and a lot of those policies came from a top-down administrative perspective, which didn't allow any opportunity for students to, first and foremost, understand that decision, and secondly, put our own feedback and input towards it. So administrative transparency is a huge part of what we're working toward, as well as as well as transparency within student government, so that you know where our budget is going, what our initiatives are, and also so that we can keep an ongoing record about the history of student government, the initiatives we have been able to accomplish in our time, and also so that we don't reinvent the wheel every time. It's important to establish those types of things. I'm going to pass it along. Josh, if you want to.
Another big point that we have is continuity. I'm the only freshman running, and I believe that a big issue that a lot of student groups face every year is the turnover between executive boards. It makes it almost impossible for long-term goals to be accomplished. I think that we're going to try to create a library inside the student government so we also don't reinvent the wheel every time, where we can put initiatives that are being worked on. If they pass or fail, we're going to have a library where groups in the future can see and groups now, so we don't make the same mistakes twice. And we also know what we have done in the past and what we want to do for the future. And that's just a big point that we want to stress.
One thing I will touch upon is some of those quality of life issues that Alex had hinted towards. I know as a slate that we're very passionate about, obviously Boston University as a whole, but we're all students here, and we want to improve the quality of student life for the vast majority of students. We want to be able to impact as many students as possible with the decisions we make. One of them that was already touched upon is streamlining that SAO process. It is just going to make things so much easier for every student group here to have that process streamlined, to have them know more about what's going on. And Jamie, as our VPI, is already working on initiatives such as that. So we're already experienced in that field. Moving off campus, students have to go to the grocery store, and trying to get a rewards program with Shaw's going for BU students is another quality of life issue that is going to impact a large number of students on this campus. Again, working with the bus, which Richa has already made so many strides with, getting weekend daytime hours. Again, that's a huge demand among students and is going to affect almost every student at this campus. Getting weekend stops at 1019 and St. Mary Street is a logical safety step. And these are some of just a few quality of life issues that we as a slate are very passionate about and want to,
Thank you.
Time's up.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So the first question will go to BU's Push to Start. Or both slates will answer the question, but BU's Push to Start will answer first. And the question is, what do you consider the mission of student government to be, and how do you foresee your role in accomplishing that mission?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lauren. So we truly feel that our mission as a representative e-board would be to serve the students the way that they would like us to serve them. So listening to students' input and understanding exactly what they want to see changed on campus before we set our agendas is extremely important to us. We know that we need to have an evolving platform, an evolving agenda in order to address changes that come up as they do, as well as students are passionate about them. How we can play a role in that is simply by listening, being informative, being able to outreach into our communities and understand exactly what people are facing, as well as making sure that the four of us present a very approachable executive board that people want to be a part of.
I would also say, pardon me, if I may, a big part of our inclusivity value is that we want you to come with your ideas. We're not here to lay out what your problems are. We're not going to tell you what your problems are. We want you to come to us and say, these are the issues we're truly interested in. And that's when we'll start working on some of these bigger ticket items that you guys can have your feedback on.
And as Rich has said, this is something that we're already doing as a slate, even just during campaign. We're going to these student groups. We're asking them what they want to see done on campus. We're already importing these ideas into our campaign, which you can see on our Facebook page and on our website. So we are going to be a very open and responsive slate in terms of we want to hear what you want changed at BU. We're only your representatives. We're not just going to be the only decision makers in the process.
We also have the experience and we know how to get things done. And I think that is a big part of continuing what student government has done in the past and improving what it can do in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
True BU?
So first off, thank you for the question, and then great responses, guys. True BU believes that you are our leaders and we are your voice, first and foremost. And we believe that student government should have an open method of communication between the students and this government. Now, the way that we do it is outlined on our website, and not just with a sentence or two. We've done extensive research and work already. We haven't waited to push to start. We've already begun. We're talking about communication. We're talking about having a college government that come together and create a handoff retreat. This is already in the process of being done. In fact, the VP of the college government in which I am in is already doing a research project to talk to former College of Fine Arts student government presidents to see what they've done so that they do not reinvent the wheel. And now I'm going to pass it off to some of my other teammates.
Hi guys, my name is Selma. I'm running for VP of Finance. And I think it's not about being part of student government and trying to get you guys involved with us. It's about us getting involved in your lives. That's what's important. That's what needs to be heard right now. We're not trying to implement all these policies and be your leaders. We are your civil servants. And you know what that means? That means we are going to be involved in your lives. You guys are going to steer us in the right direction. And that's the way it should be from the very beginning. And we believe that we are the best and the most passionate to do so. And I hope you guys feel the same way.
Thank you. Now, BU's push to start, you have 1 minute if you would like to take it, and you don't have to take it.
Absolutely, thank you. I'd just like to touch on especially something that Alexander mentioned, and I think is really great, is that some of these steps towards making the turnover with student government are very essential. And like he said, they are already being taken. Right now, as part of as Cabinet Director of Events within student government, I've been working very closely with Richa and some of our other executive board members to construct a sample binder for myself to pass on to the future Cabinet Director. This is a model that, as an executive board, we do hope to implement cabinet-wide and hopefully to structure similar things within Senate as well.
I'd also like to touch upon I think, something that I can speak to just as myself. It's very difficult for us as an executive board to have said that we can plan things out in the future simply because I and Josh and Jamie happen to be in positions within StuGov where we have to implement our ideas as they come right when we get them. It would be almost unfair for us to put those out and on our platform without addressing them in the offices that we currently hold.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So our second question goes to, we'll begin with True BU, and it is, why is your slate qualified to run for student government?
Well, I could go on for a while about this because we have such exemplary people. And it's not just our slate. I'm just going to put this out there, and this is something that all of us say whenever we're talking to groups like the Buzz, the Daily Free Press, Quad, WTBU, etc. It's our team. It's our senior staffers. It's our policy director, communications director, campaign manager. It's our field director, and it's everyone else. I mean, the team that we have is what makes True BU so incredible. That being said, I don't want to take up too much time, so my other team members can talk.
I think something else that we really have and that is very unique, we're not just coming from a student government perspective, we're coming from a fresh, innovative perspective, which leads us to have CGS, SED, CAS, and CGS all represented. Now that's the kind of representation that we need here at BU. And I feel that having student government representation is crucial, and therefore my experience as the Director of Academic Affairs serves me, and Cassandra's experience as Director of City Affairs serves us in understanding the inside of student government as well as the outside and that fresh perspective, and I think that's extremely important to have that balance.
I think one of the most important things that makes us True BU is that we embody the values that we espouse. We are community, we are empowerment, we are vision. And that's one of the most important things that I can say for us.
Hi guys, I'm Cassandra. So I want to touch upon what Alexander said earlier about our team. I think that we have all really tapped into people here at BU who have never been tapped into before, especially not for something in student government, and that has been amazing. And I think that is what makes our slate so special, is that it's not just us four. We wouldn't be up here if it weren't for our team who's out there, who may be watching on TV, who may be doing homework. We would not be here if it weren't for you, and I really just want to say thank you.
Thank you. BU's Push to Start.
So I think that it's obviously important for Slate to be as qualified as possible to lead a campus of about 16,000 undergraduates. And I think what our Slate tried to do is not only, go through each school and try and pick someone from each college. We do have 2 members from College of Arts and Sciences, from our School of Management, one from our College of Communication. And that's great, and I think that really diversifies us. But we also look for involvement in other areas. I'm the only member running amongst all 8 of us up here who has never been involved in student government. And I really look at that as a positive. I really want to come into student government with some fresh ideas, a new critical eye, just a fresh face to really kind of change things up a bit. As a Slate, we'll be the first to admit that there are issues. And I think that in terms of, continuity and in terms of that transparency, having a fresh face can really help solve some of those issues that have been, repetitive issues in the past. Going in without any experience, definitely I was wary. But I went into a meeting with Richa with almost every intention to kind of say no. But she had convinced me to run with her, and I think the big reason was because of her, involvement already. Running with the current VP has already given me tremendous experience, tremendous confidence going into this position, and I don't think I would be able to do it without her. So having those 3 members on my slate who are also in student government have already helped me, and I think it gives us that different experience.
I think it's also important to note that we pull from a variety of student groups, like Joe touched on. Joe is an admissions counselor right now. I personally am a current cabinet director, but I'm also the vice president of Panhellenic Programming, as well as the president of Dance Marathon. I know Rich and Josh are involved in a great deal. So we're really looking towards those resources to pull us together. I think it's also worth mentioning that we were all inspired by one another to run. This wasn't a desire just to govern student government. This wasn't just a desire for a title. We genuinely meet with each other outside of student government things. I think that relationship is going to speak for itself in making student government more inclusive and more approachable to the student body. Thanks.
Thank you. Shrubi, you have 1 minute if you'd like to take it.
I think something else I'd like to mention is we're not just working in leadership positions, but we're all here as students. And I think that's very important to realize. And definitely, we are here to serve you all from the student perspective and making sure that you guys graduate. I think that's extremely important. And I think that we just bounce off each other so well. I'm so proud of it. I respect every single member on this slate so much. And I think respect is the most important thing to be able to have an effective student government. And I truly look up to Alexander. Even though he's younger than me, I totally look up to him in so many ways. He's taught me so much, and we're teaching each other, and I think that's great.
And one last thing I'd like to talk about is that our team does not come from background of student government. To give you an example, our policy director, Maria, had never even touched student government, and then her roommate told her to come into a department meeting. For those of you who don't know, department meetings are open to anyone and everyone. Now, what we plan to do is plan to make sure that communication is there so that we can, have an open dialogue between students and student government so that we
Thank
can make a
you.
difference.
Your time's up. So the next question goes first to BU's Push to Start. What are 3 concrete changes or improvements that that students will be able to see at the end of your term, and how will you enact that if you have time?
Great. So I'm just going to take a second, jot them down. Actually, I'll just hit on one and I'll let you guys take the rest. Okay. So I think that one thing that we'd really like to see done and that we will accomplish soon after, if we take office, it would be tuition transparency. It is an issue that comes up time and time again. It is a hot button issue with almost 4% rises in tuition every single year that we're here. And we need to be able to trust administration that when we see that 4% increase, we're not just thinking about President Brown's salary, and we can see the tangible changes on our campus that prove to us that 4% is worth it. That is so incredibly important to us. And actually, recent conversations, hasn't been brought up yet, but I'm currently vice president. Recent conversations with administrators and student enrollment has proved to show us that that is very much possible and something we can promise.
We're also very interested in expanding career resources for students, specifically for international students. Currently, ISSO only has programs that offer things like interview workshops for students trying to get post-grad positions. A lot of these interview workshops are inconveniently scheduled, so we'd really like to work with them to make that more accessible, as well as making companies that are open to endorsing students from international countries as interns during their undergraduate years. That's often a huge conflict, that international students can't find work opportunities like that. So we want to work with the corporations that do have openings for that and be the liaison between the international students and their potential opportunities.
Sure. And one last thing that was already touched upon a little bit is that real inclusivity with student government in terms of other student groups. Like I said before, we're not the only students at this campus, and there are such large communities that should have a voice in the decisions that student government makes. I know Rich is already taking great strides in making some of these happen, but getting a seat or multiple seats in Senate for groups like Hillel or for athletes on campus or for the CGSA. So there are great initiatives that we want to take in order to get so many people involved with student government, so they're also a voice on the initiatives we're taking. And just the fact that Rich had reached out to me, someone who's not in student government, already shows that.
Thank you. True be you.
Sandra, you take it.
So one of the main policies we're working on is with behavioral medicine. We're trying to reestablish the Student Support Network as well as BU Secret, both of which were established in 2009 with a grant that lasted for 3 years. Student Support Network is basically a series of 6 training sessions over a 6-week period. Students are trained in empathic listening, recognizing distress signs, that sort of thing. The idea would be to increase community, empower students, give them the tools to recognize these signs, give them the tools to help one another. BU Secret is a similar idea. Most of you are aware of Post Secret. It would be basically bringing Post Secret back here, as was done previously.
$35,000. $35,000 is what student government has and holds. That's 1% of your tuition. That means that you guys can get direct control of your tuition through a grant system that we are proposing. First of all, 3 points to this. 1 is education, 2 is startups, and 3 is community. We are ready to support those sorts of people. We are ready to bring innovation to this side of campus and make sure that students are cared for, that their dreams are done and are realistically supported. And that is through monetary value. $35,000 is what student government has that you guys can use. So why not bridge the gap between education, startups, and community? Have education so we can invest in our future leaders. Have startups to create investments, create monetary investments, and then reinvest those at BU, such as at Killishawn Hall. And then third of all, creating a community, creating art projects, grants for the building community at BU to make people happier, to make people more comfortable at BU, and foster a creative network to then restart that cycle.
Thank you. And BU push to start. You have 1 minute.
Joe, you first.
Sure. So I think those are all great initiatives and things that, in theory would be great. Personally, I've had a lot of experience with the mental health program here, behavioral medicine, and, the whole 3-week thing, to me, is almost a myth. I mean, I've known a lot of people who have been involved with it, not only myself, and I've literally never had to wait that long. I've been in a week every time. I've known people who have been able to meet with people, and while there are always, strides to be made and progress to be made in every area on campus, I think that is one that I've seen already be kind of worked on.
Yeah, so that is definitely one good point. I think one other thing to really point out here is that the Student Support Network is already something that Dean Elmore is working on right now. They're going through issues with liabilities, so there are liabilities working with those students, and they're drawing currently from other institutions' work so far. So that is already in processes a 24-hour network for student support.
With our budget.
Thank you, that's time. So this next question will go first to True BU. A major campus concern is that students do not feel represented in their student government. How would you foster communication between students and their representatives to alleviate this concern?
Go for it.
Okay. Between students and student government? I'm sorry, I was
Yeah,
writing.
students and their representatives, how will you foster communication?
Okay,
between them?
so one of the things that we are planning on implementing and we know if you've seen our feasibility ratings, it's a feasibility rating 1, which means it'll be very, very easy to implement, will be senator orientation. I was a senator for 1019 last year when I was a sophomore, and I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I went to the first Senate meeting and sort of got thrown into parliamentary procedure, which thank goodness I knew from Model UN, otherwise I would have definitely been lost. And I didn't really understand exactly what student government was and what it could do for me and what it could do for my constituents. So we believe that by implementing a senator orientation, that they will be able to understand not only just procedure during Senate meetings, but also exactly what they can do for student government, what student government can do for them, and they will be able to understand better how their constituents will be able to come to us. We have already reached out to students without even having senators. We have found people who we have included on our website as true BU innovators. We have found those people on their own, and we know that if we can train senators to do the same thing, it'll be very, very easy to tap into the BU network and get them to work alongside student government.
Absolutely. Thank you. And, representing student voice, you could add a senator or two. That's true. You are absolutely correct. That being said, a senator or two is not going to make sure that you have the adequate mental health support you have. It's not going to make sure that you're able to leap over those barriers of bureaucracy. It's not going to make sure that if you have a dream in student and you need some help, that student government will be there for you. We have to open communication. We need to make sure that instead of there being a website that hasn't had a senator updated for 2 years, you can contact your senator, and it's easy. You should know that department meetings are open to everyone, such as our policy director. These are facts that should be open and should be transparent. But unfortunately, at the moment, they're not. And we promise, with our website, as it already shows,
Sorry.
that we are doing just that.
Sorry, time's up. I was not paying attention. Bees push to start, thank you. I was watching someone steal a sandwich in the back. But that's okay. Sorry. Good.
Okay, I'm definitely going to let my other slate members touch on some of these things, but I did want to address something that Cassandra brought up. Senators are a huge part of student government structure, and their influence is big, no doubt. But as important as it is to implement a senator transition orientation period, that's already been done. As the current director of events, I've already worked with my e-staff specifically on this assignment all year with A.V. Levy, who is the current Senate chair. And we have a fully ready-to-go implemented program for first thing next semester. It already has workshops detailed with what kind of leadership skills we'll build, what kind of things we'll discuss pertinent to Senate procedures. It even has locations booked. So that's something that has been addressed.
I'd just like to go back to the exact question. Lauren, can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, a major campus concern is that students do not feel represented in student government.
Great.
How would you foster communication between students and their representatives to
Great.
alleviate this concern?
Thank you. I think that one thing that we are really, really going to push for is allowing students to be able to participate and know about issues that they are passionate about. That is really key for us. I think that BU may not have a lot of typical school spirit, but we are extremely passionate about the things that we care about. And harnessing that passion and allowing students to use our resources and our monetary funds and everything else that we can offer really connects them because they're going to care about why they are connected to us. Anything else to add?
I just think that that kind of idea of reaching out to students and asking them what they're passionate about has already been taken to heart by a lot of students. I've been reached out by one of my friends who didn't even know I was running for student government until that whole social media blitz, and it told me that it's a great thing that he's seeing all these quotes from student leaders on campus, and here's an idea of mine. Would you be able to kind of think about this one? And I think that's a great thing to see students already taking that to heart, kind of one of our main issues.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Shubi, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Thank you, Jamie, for responding to what I said, but I do have to say that I think that it's quite interesting that I'm Director of City Affairs right now in Student Government. And as Director, I think it's interesting that I wasn't aware that that was being implemented. And I think that that touches upon the issue of transparency within student government. It's just something, in reaching out to students, transparency is obviously something we both firmly believe in. And I think that that just shows that actions being taken right now aren't being as transparent as they could be.
And I'm just going to add on that is that we do before saying. We research before saying policies that we think are good ideas and that students come to us saying are good ideas. And that's why we already have on our website all the financial documents that we've used in our campaign. Because before we say that we want to be transparent, we need to be transparent ourselves.
Thank you. So the next question will begin. Oh, you can applaud. I didn't mean to interrupt you. The next question will begin with BU's push to start. So the legitimacy of student government has been questioned in the past. What will your slate do to increase the legitimacy of student government this year?
Yeah, great. Josh, do you want to start, or do you want me to start? You want me to start? Okay. So I think that, so this is sort of a two-pronged issue, and one that I actually love to talk about, because as vice president, it's sort of an issue that comes up with me all the time. There's two reasons why we are not taken as seriously as we should. One is because administration does not take us as seriously as we should. Two is because students do not take us as seriously as we should. This is actually a vicious cycle. Students won't take us seriously until administration takes us seriously. Administration won't take us seriously until we prove that we are representing these students. Luckily, this year, finally, over the process of this year, we have managed to bridge gaps with administration, and by the end of the year, they've finally opened up to us and allowed us in, right? Now, they know my face. They've seen these faces before. We don't want to lose that, because with that, now we have administrative support. Well, now we can work on making sure that the things that we promise students are actually going to happen. That circle is about to be bridged.
And we don't want to, so we don't want to break that circle by trying to only reach out to the students again after we have formed these bonds with the administration. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I think with having Josh, it kind of goes right into that continuity idea of, year after year, if there's a new e-board and there's no turnover within student government as a whole, those old ideas or kind of maybe some initiatives that need a little bit longer to be worked upon might be washed away. And having Josh as a freshman who will definitely be here next year, hopefully in a high up leadership position, we'll be able to kind of alleviate that a little bit.
Yeah. I actually just wanted to, I have a minute, so I might as well just say one thing. One story that I think is really, really important here is the fact that we had a mixed slate this year, and it was very, very difficult. I work with the president who I did not run with, and it had its hard times. One of the things that I can respect most, though, is how invaluable it was to walk into rooms with administrators with him by my side. They'd already seen him. Conversations were more candid. Everything was able to be processed faster. I didn't even realize it until I had to walk in without him. So I think that is something that can be said in terms of how we're going to make sure that we are a very productive student government.
Thank you. True BU, you have 2 minutes.
I just want to address the continuity. So one of our major policies is to introduce freshmen to student government during orientation, before they get on campus, before they get settled here, before they join clubs. They should know that student government exists and that we're there for them, that we are a resource that they can use to make change on campus, to help students realize their potential.
Adding on to that, number one, continuity should not depend on the current student government people. It should not depend on people. It should depend on the ideas that are instilled within student government. So therefore, that means you should be having a process that doesn't depend on a freshman leading all 4 years. You should have a permanent process, such as a grant system, a permanent fund that is always there for the students. And that no matter who is in power, that is there still there for the students to depend on. That is key. I don't know if anyone wants to.
And that all relates to legitimacy.
Yeah.
Everything that we're talking about, introducing freshmen to student government so that from the very beginning, they know what student government can do, increases the legitimacy. It creates a culture where students can realize their potential and know who to go to. We're talking about innovation grants. That makes sure that students know that student government is there for them, monetarily and with advocacy. We talk about divestment. That is a huge issue. But in order to make that happen, we need to organize the student body. We need to show that we are legitimate, and we need to talk with the administrations. That's why we're talking about town halls. That builds legitimacy. We're talking about a monthly and eventually bi-monthly meeting that includes students, staff, and administration. And that builds legitimacy. It creates bridges of communication rather than burning them.
Great, yeah, I'd love to respond,
Sure.
if that's okay.
You have 1 minute.
Yeah, great. So once again, unfortunately, I'd like to bring up that orientation. We already have outreach to that orientation. I personally spent my entire summer here this past summer as vice president working at every single orientation with a bunch of faces in this room, actually. Thursday nights, Friday mornings, we're there. They know us. We get a shout out. So that's already in place. They are welcomed with a big banner, lots of candy, lots of information, and their email, all that stuff. So that's really awesome. If anyone else has anything to say, I'd like to respond to more points, but I can pass it off to you. Okay. In terms of bi-monthly meetings with administration, those are steps that have already been taken, but if you talk to administration about this, they're going to give you one very specific answer. They will say that they do not want to be put up at a place where they can be attacked, so either they need to have directed town halls or they will not participate. And I'm assuming there's no way you can coerce them into that, so I just like to draw a point to that. It's not feasible. Where is it on your feasibility rating?
Our feasibility rating?
It was
I
a
believe it's
three.
Three? Three?
Yeah,
Three?
Okay, thank you. Time's up. This next question comes from a member of the student body who submitted a question online. He said that considering that tuition increases are a function of student services and considering the animosity towards tuition increases, would you be willing to cut student services to shrink tuition? And if not, how do you propose to deal with rising tuition? And True BU begins. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first off, student service fees have actually already been decreasing. Year after year, they've actually been cut more and more and more. And, you know, to answer the student's question, you know, it's already being cut. The fact of the matter is not so much whether we know the exact numbers. The fact of the matter is that we need to have a say in the decision-making process. And we can only do that by building up, as we talked about in the previous point, legitimacy. Not through just talking and going to students as an individual student government, but training orientation leaders, as we've already started setting up meetings with administrators, to contact and reach out to students so that they know, just through casual conversations, what student government can do. Guys? Good.
Thank you. B's push to start.
Cool. I have some really interesting information to share. We are, in fact, not taking away money from our student services. This year, our 3.9% tuition increase, 3.7, was due exactly to 4 major areas, if I'd like to go through them. This is information that I've gained through a candid conversation I had with somebody from the enrollment offices. 4 areas went into our tuition increase this year. 1, accessibility. With a more diverse socioeconomic status of our students here, with more financial aid that goes towards them, we have to end up paying more for our tuition. Number 2, energy. The cost of natural gas has been rising incredibly, has doubled in the last year, and because BU runs on natural gas, that was one of the factors that went into it. Number 3, investments in new programs, specifically the CCD and the ERC, among many other ones, including the new physics, I messed that up, the new engineering lab at 730 ComAv. The 4th thing was salary raises. Most of our peer institutions offer higher than a 2% salary increase per year, but Boston University offers a 2% salary increase per year. Those are the 4 factors that went into our 3.7% tuition increase. And that is totally what it is. We are going to work to make that even better. So are we going to sacrifice on student services? No. But we're going to listen to students and say, would you rather have your money go towards student services, go towards rebuilding the GSU, or would you rather see a tuition cut? It's not our job to tell you whether or not you want to cut your student services. It's our job to listen to you and say, well, exactly where do you want to cut after you have all the information of exactly where your dollars are going, so you can make informed opinions about just that.
Another thing we're trying to stop the administration from taking our money. The student government does not have rollover accounts, RHAs, and student governments, and we would like to create rollover accounts so we can spend more money on things that you want and not necessarily have the money taken away at the end of the year like it is every year, and the money just goes away. We want to see our money spent on ourselves with the tuition we pay, not taken away from us each time.
And that would go directly into student services.
Thank you. True BU, you have 1 minute to respond.
Quick response. When it comes, I think I applaud you, Richa. It's great that you are talking with administrators. I think it's great. And I think it's great that you stand for transparency. But why didn't we know about this?
Yeah, great. That's
And,
a great
well,
answer.
no, my question continues. Why didn't we know about this, and why is it that True BU, again, we are big on doing before saying, and again, we have our transparent documents on our website. We have all information on our website. And Selma, I think you had a point to make?
Yeah, no, I really had the same kind. Why don't we know about this? Why should we trust the student government that we don't even know what's happening completely? If we, the student body, which is student government, can't communicate well, then this is something that is a big concern. We need to be realistic.
Absolutely.
Can I just respond with a sentence? Our monthly newsletter has not come out yet. That's the only reason you don't know it yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So for all of you who have walked in a little late, that's okay. But if you would like to ask a question, we'll start audience questions soon. Please find one of the SEC members and obtain a note card. And then Brianna and Chris, you can pass your questions to them. You can also tweet at BU_elections for those of you watching at home. And so this is a question that also was submitted online from a student. He or she currently lives off campus due to BU's high housing cost. They were not able to use the BU security escort service because they live off campus. And in their question, they said they only live like right off of BU Central Stop. So how will you help students who live off campus and feel unsafe walking home at night? And that will begin with BU's push to start.
So I think that's an excellent concern. I'm actually an off-campus student myself, and I know that safety is a huge priority. And I will let Joe touch on this primarily, but we already have worked with BUPD very closely in the past through our own positions in student government. I could text them right now if I wanted to. And I think BUPD is the biggest player in creating safety initiatives. We need their help, and we have those relationships to give you the services you need from BUPD.
Yeah, and I think one of our main goals is to really take the resources we have at BU and better them as much as we can. And one of those is the security escort service. And one of its flaws is that it doesn't apply to students off campus, even if they do live just a little bit off campus. And that's unfortunate, but BUPD is working with the escort security service right now to try and better it. And that's one of those things that with our connections, we can express to them that concern and hopefully work on improving that in the future.
Right.
Thank you. True BU?
Let's talk about it.
Okay, I'll start. I definitely believe that off-campus housing and those who live off campus are very important to the BU community. And that being said, it's wonderful that BUPD is working right now with the student body, and I think we need to be more involved in that process. And that's why we are working on these late night safe havens, and we are excited to work with BUPD and make sure that students feel safe. We have a timeline on how to do it, and we are ready to make those connections right now with BUPD. Right now, not even after weekend office. We are going to talk to them after this meeting if this is something that is concerning students.
Thank you. BU's push to start, you have 1 minute if you'd like.
Great, so I'll respond about those safe havens. And I know that one of the main ones that we know about, and I'm sure that your slate has done some research on it, as myself has, is Columbia University, who does that university does install these safe havens around campus. And I think one of the major differences between Columbia and here, and a reason why that might not be as effective here, is because that entire area of that campus is surrounded by places that are open until 2 a.m., until midnight, where, when students really do feel unsafe and need that, place to stay, there's really not many places around our campus where we can really logistically consider having a safe haven at midnight or 2 a.m. And I think that instead of trying to introduce this entire new resource and try and build that from the ground up, we can instead better the security escort service through the BUPD and our connections there already.
Sure, we can follow up with
Can we do
how.
that?
Yep.
Can we follow up on how?
Yep.
Do we get like a new?
It's
It's a question.
it's quick.
It's a quick, yeah. If you
Yeah.
guys want.
How? Pretty self-explanatory. By working with BUPD and in trying to extend that area of
Right.
where can a security escort service member go to walk with someone to off campus. And there obviously might be some sort of restrictions there. You can't go 20 minutes off campus, but for people who live off campus in Alston, in South Campus, which a lot of people do, I think that's totally feasible.
Okay, so our escort service that was previously run by Mavens is in transition period this year, but next year it's going to be operated by the BUPD. For those of you who are familiar with the BUPD, they're super excited about getting student input. I would actually say this is one of the easier initiatives put into place because they are so receptive to things that students want to see changed on campus. So that would be how.
Thank you. True BU, would you like a minute response?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's important to realize, and we're continuous as we are here, and I think an idea or initiative, besides working with BUPD, we usually stay up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and these safe havens include students sitting down with each other and having secure areas within the GSU, within already placed institutes, and open those up late at night where students are studying and tell us, yeah, I'm studying over here, I'm studying over here, and making sure that you can communicate, maybe through an app. We can use our innovators that we have already in place to create an app, maybe through the Global App Initiative that directly endorse us. Thank you. And so we can create an app to tell you where students are located across campus and where you will feel the most safe with your friends and with me, and that will also create a place of community and empowerment, empowering each other to feel safe on campus.
Thank you. So this next question comes from our audience. And we will begin with True BU, right? Because you guys had the minute response.
I think.
So he begins.
believe so.
True BU begins first. So the question is, what is your slate's biggest weakness, and how do you plan on turning that into a strength?
Oh, this is good. This is fun. No, so I think one of the biggest claimed weaknesses against us is that we are not incumbents. Oh no. That's what I think all of us say. We have experience far and wide. Personally, I'm the CFA Student Government President, but I'm also a co-founder of a nonprofit that my mother, who's right here actually, her and I started a nonprofit, and it's still running, to help students in the public school system in our hometown. I also have 5 months of political experience in Joe Kennedy's campaign for Congress, and I'm currently working as a policy and communications fellow for Steve Grossman running for governor of Massachusetts. My team has numerous accomplishments and many in experience. We work together amazingly well, and it's not just us four, it's all of us. That is our, in theory, biggest weakness. It is incumbency. But as we've just noted, and as our research shows, we have the chutzpah to do that, to make great things at BU together.
Thank you. BU Push to Start, you have 2 minutes.
I'd like to think that both of our slates have a lot of similar initiatives and an equal amount of chutzpah. But I think especially, honestly, our biggest disadvantage right now is that we don't have the funds to put towards a lot of flyers and campaign materials. And I think that's something that we did somewhat purposefully.
Yes, one of our big initiatives is being sustainable and green, and we didn't print 10,000 flyers, and we don't have a banner. We're just trying to use our Facebook and social networking, no yard sign. We're just trying to get the word out by word of mouth and the traditional way to try to reach as many students as possible in a way that they can really relate to, and a way that saves the environment and keeps everything green.
Can I please respond to that?
You guys have a 1 minute
1 minute.
response.
As you guys know, I'm the VP of Finance, and that money was from the student body. That was money that we are using to spread the word to make sure you guys are represented. You guys want to be represented? You have to know about us, to know that we are here for you. That is our voice. We raise $1,000. That's how hardworking we are. We are able to raise that money. That money we raise ourselves. Our hard-working selves were able to create the strategic, the organizational skills to be able to hold ourselves to that great attitude to be able to raise that money. Now imagine what we can do with money for you guys when we get into office. How much money we can raise and how we can come together. Think about that.
Thank you. As I scroll through questions from the audience, and I just lost it. Okay, so this question is for Richa specifically. Last year, you ran against a slate with 2 past presidents on it, literally challenging continuity, yeah,
didn't run
sorry.
on that slate.
Why do you think that others cannot achieve as much as you have?
Yeah, I actually did not run on that slate, so that question is probably not towards me.
No, she's saying you ran against the slate that was for continuity.
You saying that I ran against a slate that was, is that what the question was? It says,
Yep.
it says you ran for it.
You ran against a slate, sorry.
I ran against a
misspoke.
slate that was, can you repeat it again?
Yep. Last year, you ran against a slate with 2 past presidents on it, literally challenging continuity. Why do you think that others cannot achieve as much as you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that at that point, I was not challenging continuity, to be very honest with you. I wasn't standing there and running and saying, I want to be vice president on this slate because I want to challenge continuity. That was not on my mind. I simply learned the value of continuity in my time this year. That's really all I can say. It wasn't even a platform point last year. No one was bringing that up. This year it's very stressed, but last year it was not.
Thank you. So the next question goes directly to Alexander. As president of CFA, how have you been able to improve your school? Do you have concrete plans for improving each college at BU? You have 2 minutes.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes, we do. Okay, so, this gets me so excited talking about it. I'm so proud. So, okay. Last year, I was the VP of Academic Social Affairs, who knows. But it was 3 people, basically. We wrote the Constitution for CFA together. You know, last year, the Constitution of CFA Student Government said CAS in it. That's ridiculous. It's bonkers. And what we did is we did comparative studies. We like doing our homework. So what we did is we looked at all the other college government constitutions, we looked at other universities' constitutions, and we drafted a new one. Now, what have we done now? We've made sure that students, and unfortunately, it's the culture thing. That's why we talk about student orientation, freshman orientation, because it's so important to change the culture. I've seen, and we have seen in CFA student government, an increase in participation from freshmen and sophomores, not because freshmen and sophomores want to participate more, but because they know that student government is a resource for them. What we have done concretely is we have made sure that students have made events. For example, School of Visual Arts students now have professional resources. We've made an art sale that spans not just CFA, but the entire university. And more so than that, we've started connecting with alumni. We want to create, as our opponents like to say, continuity. But we've not only said it, we've shown it.
Thank you.
Can we just show that?
And a note to my little people, please only send me tweets that are questions and not all the tweets. Thank you. So this question is for both teams. I know I'm an awful moderator. Which team spoke first? True BU spoke first, right? So this will go first to BU's push to start. Both teams plan to implement improvement. Maybe this iPad thing was not a good idea. Okay, so which specific policies will you continue from the current student government, or do you plan on reforming the entire entity? You have 2 minutes.
Right, I think it's been pretty clear by now that we're not planning on reforming the entire entity. In terms of plans from this year that we're definitely going to try to pull forward, are a lot of the really long-term plans that I've worked closely with our Director of Advocacy on, including changes to the student link. I've been working with IT with changes to actually revamping the entire thing in addition to adding certain wait lists, et cetera, on there. Those are the things we just, thanks to Danny Elfritz, who's in the crowd right now, just passed our recycling on every floor of all of our large residence halls. That was going to be the other thing that we were going to say we're going to continue on. We're going to assess at the end of this year exactly what student government has not completed. Our term does not end after this election. We continue to work until May 14th. At that time is when we will reassess what was not done. We'll get started on some of the things that do not overlap yet, and then we'll pick up everything that was not finished to be done next year.
Do we still have time? Yep. So just a couple things that I can say personally, knowing that we will move forward because they are a little long-term projects. A big thing is SAO mainstreaming some of those processes and making them more accessible. I've already met with several SAO coordinators as well as several student group leaders about different procedures that SAO has. Some of you may or may not know this, but SAO actually does come to student groups and gives presentations about their processes to make it more clear. I've sat in on them. They're not as efficient as they could be. They're not as accessible. I've been working really hard through the events department this year to make the events paperwork process simpler, but that'll definitely be something that we try to expand moving forward, making all of SAO processes simpler. Did you want to add anything?
Thank you. True BU, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that when you look at all the policies we're implementing, we are making changes to student government, including, like I said earlier, with the senator orientation and reaching out to freshmen. And we're also making some changes to actually the VPIA position to make it a little more involved, actually, within student government. But that doesn't mean that we're reforming everything. No, in no way. I think that we want to make improvements to things, such as our communications department, and just making sure that things are updated so that students can know what's going on in student government. And I think that that's what's really important, is also just making improvements to things that are there but aren't doing as well as we know that they could be.
Another point is the number one thing, an issue that student government needs to have is connecting with students. And once we can connect with students, automatically student government will change. Automatically student government will become a better place and a better community to work on. And so I think it's important to first reach out to students, to be there, to talk visibility. Our postcards, we give them out to every person in the JSU. It's a conversation starter with people. I've met so many inspiring people through this campaign, and they are now part of our team. And that is what we should be doing, reaching out to people every day, having ourselves not be in the office, as we have tried to do. However, it's not working. And obviously we need better people, more motivation, and we are here to be your voice. Student body, student government is the student body. Thank you.
Thank you. Push to start, you have 1 minute if you'd like it. Okay.
Is it okay if I just say something
Yeah,
really
you have
quickly?
1 minute.
Just specifically addressing some of the things Salma talked about, I think that campaigning has been an exceptional experience for all of us. It's really something unique, and I hope a lot of people in this room get to experience that at some point as well. But it is also important to remember that our campaign team has helped us through literally everything, from forming our platform to forming our campaign. But at the end of the day, we don't get to work with our campaign team forever. We will transition to student government, and those cabinet members, those senators are not necessarily people on our campaign team, not necessarily people we campaigned to. So it's really important to be able to have those transitional leadership abilities. And I just think that's something definitely worth noting, is that Richard worked on a split slate. That's as ambushed as you can be in terms of leadership. And I think those types of qualities are what's really important here.
Thank you. So this next question will begin with True BU, and it's from the audience. How will you work with the administration to use its current fundraising campaign to revise the university's financial aid policy to make attending the university more feasible to more students?
Congratulations to whoever asked that.
Yeah, definitely. I think a very important part of it, if you guys look at our 30-pager, is something called the Alumni Kickstarter. Currently, BU is trying to use its money and put it towards student projects through a crowdfunding organization. Right now, as Director of Academic Affairs, I am working with administration. I have the cell phone number of an administration member. I can talk to him anytime I want. So just as you guys have those resources, I have them too. We all have administrative connections. And so I think that having sorry, excuse me. Getting flustered, I'm so excited. So I think that reaching out to alumni and making sure that administration connects the student body with alumni is very important, and making sure that that money goes directly into student hands. I don't know, do you want to add something?
And when it comes to financial aid, my question would be is how can we start a conversation? We've talked about town halls constantly throughout the campaign. It's on our flyer. It's one of our big points, and we think that is a conversation that should be had. But it's not something that can take a 5-minute discussion. It takes a long-term discussion, and that's why we have things like feasibility ratings in our book. in our research because we want to show that we're being realistic and feasible.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question before we start answering?
I knew you were going to ask that. Okay. Yes. How will you work with the administration to use its current fundraising campaign to revise the university's financial aid policy to make attending the university more feasible for its students?
Great.
To more students.
Great. So I'm going to answer the question very directly. So the campaign that is being talked about right now is the capital campaign, one that I worked on very, very personally. So what that is right now is, for those of you who don't know, BU's endowment is $1.2 billion. To put that in some perspective, Harvard's is $45 billion. So financial aid is actually, so the interest that we earn on that endowment contributes directly to how affordable BU is. One of the reasons it's so expensive right now, because we're trying to climb in the rankings, but we can't fall back on the interest we gain from the endowment that we have because it's so small. So, to answer your question, that $1 billion capital campaign is going to go directly into our endowment. That's what it's there for. And we are going to strongly urge administration to make sure that, well, this is the plan, but every cent of that goes directly into making BU more affordable, both for students that are here, as well as offering more financial aid, so more students who maybe currently can't come have that opportunity.
Thank you. True BU, you have 1 minute to respond if you'd like.
So you may not all know this, but for a year and a half, I'm a sophomore, so for a year and a half, freshman through sophomore year, I worked as an activist to work on higher education, transparency, accountability, and affordability. It was incredibly difficult. And the reason why is because Boston University is the third largest employer in the state of Massachusetts. And you know the one that's above that? Harvard University. 3 years ago in 2010, 4 years ago now, 2010, the Service Employees International Union proposed to have a piece of legislation in the state legislature to make universities more transparent, because a private university, even though it's a nonprofit, gives less information in tax forms than a publicly traded company. Think about that for a second. And they're not going to just give up that information and give up, that possibility just like that. We need to have a strong student government to make those kinds of changes. And we can urge all we want. But it won't make a difference unless we have a student government with power.
Right, they're already doing it.
So the next question will begin with BU's push to start. It's another question from the audience. Student government would be more effective if it could organize the student body better. How do you plan to use the student body to give more credence to your initiatives? You have 2 minutes.
Great. Do you want to do it? You can do it. Okay. Talking a lot tonight. I think that's something that we actually mentioned before is going to be a really big part in this. We're already starting it right now currently with the proposal to get Veterans Day off. We reach out to ROTC. I think that the really important thing here is to harness passions that other students, individuals, organizations have, but on initiatives the student government is working on. It allows us to actually have more passion when we are, talking about these issues as well as following them up. But it also allows students to see that we're working on things that they are passionate about, and that's a really big thing. I mean, I don't see much of a complicated answer. Anyone else wants to take a stab at that? No? Yeah, that's how I feel.
Thank you. True BU?
Actually, as a senator in SED, I have experience at both the BU and SED student government meetings. And I was speaking with our faculty advisor, who informed me recently that Veterans Day is actually an initiative, getting Veterans Day off is actually an initiative that was started by Tom Cottle, an SED professor, a couple years ago. And he's been working on getting support from other faculty members, and I'm glad student government has joined in recently.
We are too.
Adding on to that, I think when students tell us what they want, automatically we'll have credit. We'll automatically have the student body behind us, because the student body will tell us what they want from us, and we will be serving them because that is what we should be doing. That's really it. I'm not going to try to hear myself.
Do we get a minute?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
Do we need
Push
a
to
minute?
start has 1 minute if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. I think the one thing that, as a slate, all four of us are really focusing on is that the fact that we are students. We are your peers. We're not above you in any way, and we want to hear your ideas because we'll most likely share them, but we are only 4 members of a 16,000 undergraduate community. And if you want to see this change on campus, then we want to be the slate that's open, has open ears, and is able to take those ideas and implement them Like we said, it's kind of repetitive, but we are already reaching out to these student groups and asking what they want to see done on campus and implementing them into our campaign.
I'd also like to mention, as much as it's nice to think this, we also know that absolutely nothing at BU can be accomplished automatically. We know that these initiatives take effort, they take resources, they take relationships, they take networking. None of this, no matter how much feedback we get, is going to happen instantly. And we've taken that with stride, we know that, and we've created realistic initiatives with realistic approaches.
Thank you. So the next question is for both slates, beginning with True BU. And it's another question from the audience. What will you do for student government if you lose this election?
Oh,
That's amazing.
wonderful. So, True BU, well, I should start with our experience first. Our team has a lot of experience in organizing, not just in student government. And we're planning to take that organizing to the next level regardless of whether we win or we lose. We plan on making the changes we want to see and we believe and we have heard the student body wants to see to fruition. We've already started having conversations with behavioral health. Sandra has done an amazing job with that. And we plan on using the context that we've created, the relationships we've built over this past campaign to continue making great things in the university.
The problems are complicated. This is not a simple issue. We have the difference between our two slates, when it comes down to it, is not our ideas. We have a lot of similar ideas. The difference is the execution. That's why we have a timeline. That's why we have a plan. That's why we have feasibility ratings. The difference isn't the ideas, the difference is the execution.
And just to, I guess, directly answer your question, I know at least I still plan on being very actively involved in student government as well as still doing the initiatives that we're presenting here. But if for some reason I were to lose, I know that I would still be very active in student government, probably try to go for another position again. I mean, it's not something that I would just let go because it's a really big part of my life.
Second of all, if we're really saying that student government is a student body, we're all going to be involved either way because we are here. We're all together and we're all working together. And I just want to say a point, saying that our campaign managers will not be a part of student government next year is almost an insult to the student body because they are part of student government directly already. That's how it should be.
Thank you. Push to start.
Definitely. Can I jump in really quick? Just before we answer the actual question, I'd like to respond to that. By no means are your campaign members not a part of student government. Everyone at BU is, absolutely. But your campaign members will not necessarily be your cabinet directors. They will not necessarily be the
But they will
people
be just as involved.
you have meetings with. They will not necessarily be the people making voting decisions. And that's what I was trying to emphasize.
So just to answer that initial question, as I've said before, student government isn't something I was involved with before. A lot of people might ask me, and they have, why did I choose to get involved as a junior? And a big part of that is because Richa reached out to me in looking for someone who hasn't been involved and can offer a fresh face and new ideas. And I think part of me, the only reason I really said yes is because I really wanted to work so closely with Richa and just because of the passion I have for BU. As Jamie pointed out, I am an admissions coordinator, and I spend a lot of time at that office and working and meeting families and working, for BU and trying to give as much back to the BU community as I possibly can. So if I do lose this election, unfortunately, I'll do everything I can to still be a part of student government and try and, take on some sort of position because it all stems from my passion for BU, which isn't going to go away if we lose.
As a freshman, I had an opportunity to choose what I was going to be involved in when I came in, and I chose student government. I believe win or lose this election, I will still be involved. I'm currently involved in the environmental department, and I plan on continuing that no matter what happens. And I plan on continuing working with the great people that I've formed relationship with and friendships. And it's more than just an organization, it's a community that I feel a part of, and I definitely will continue win or lose the election.
I just want to say, it's almost a really hard question for me to answer because I've been involved in BU student government since day one on this campus. It's definitely my home on campus. It's my family on campus. And so that would be something that I couldn't walk away from. There's nothing that could happen that would make me want to just leave StuGov, and that's just the simple answer.
Great, you have extra time.
No, you still have time, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you don't.
Time's
Sorry.
up, never mind.
True BU, you have 1 minute if you'd like to take it.
The thing about it is that student government is not the end-all be-all. everyone here has passions, and we all need to pursue them. And, we shouldn't be discussing it, if you're done with student government, will you still be part of it? That's not the question we should be asking. The question we should be asking is after, whether or not you lose student government elections, whether you'll still be making a difference in the community. It doesn't matter whether you have a position or not, it's what you do with it, and you do with your passions. And that's just what people, for example, coming into the department meetings do. That's just what people coming into, just freshmen asking me for help on a project, that's what we do with them. And that's what we should strive to do, regardless win or lose.
Moreover, on a less abstract note, we will be here over the summer. We have already freed up our schedule to help ourselves create these initiatives by fall 2015. That's it.
Thank you. So this looks like it'll be our last question before your closing statements, and it's from Twitter. The question is, how exactly does administration view us as students now, and how should administration view us? And it'll be to push to start, 2 minutes.
Do you mind if
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more?
Yes. So how exactly does administration view us as students now, and how should administration view us?
Yeah. So I truly believe that right now, actually, I can't take credit for the words I'm about to say. I heard them when I was talking to a student somewhere, but I think that administration currently views students sort of as sort of like a herd of sheep, sort of. I mean, that sounds a little harsh, but a bunch of people, you got to convince they're here, move them around, make them believe what you're saying. I think what really needs to happen is that administration needs to see us as valuable assets that this university can utilize now, as well as future donors. And the reason that I say that is because on an e-board, you're going to need to appeal to the administrative sort of viewpoint on that one, and hearing us say that we are future donors to the school for a school that has such a low endowment is going to be impactful, and that's what's going to convince them to see us as, very much assets to the school and people that they need to give back to right now.
Well, you have more time, but if you can yield it to the
We're
other side.
good.
So in 1970, 7,000 students went to the streets of Boston University. The reason was because a professor was fired for having controversial ideas, and the administration tried to eliminate an undergraduate student fee so that students would not have power over themselves. They would not have any ability to really make a difference in their community. That being said, over the years, student government and the student body have lost more and more of that ability. That's why we're talking about issues of empowerment and building a community so that we can have a long-term vision. That's why we have specifics, like improving communications, improving our website, doing senator orientation, doing freshman orientation. That's why we have a VPIA whip. That's why we have VP of Finance being a liaison between student government and SAO. And that's why, we're talking about these issues. Those are the things that are important. That's how we build rapport with the administration. But it also requires not being antagonistic, but again, building community throughout the entire community. We need to bridge gaps rather than burn them. I'm going to give it to Selma because I think she has some really great things to say.
Yeah. I think another point is defining administration. Administration is not just the dean of students. It is the deans, the faculty, everybody who makes BU what it is, who helps you, who educates you. And those are the people we need to be reaching out to help us get into closer contact with the administration. They care about us. I work with CGS professors all the time. The Dean of Students donated $300 to this campaign. That's how much they love our students. That's how much they love True BU. And that means that we should be utilizing those sorts of administration, the ones who care so much about what you have to say. And we need to mobilize them and help us and add them to student government, really. And how they should be viewing us is respect, and we can't gain that respect until we gain the respect of the student body. That is first and foremost. When you guys trust us to do and enact all the policies that you tell us, that's the only time
Thank
we
you.
can go to administration. Thank you. Sorry.
And push to start, you have 1 minute to respond if you'd like.
Can I just request a point of clarification? The Dean of Students sponsored $300 to your specific
Excuse me.
slate?
No. The Dean of CGS personally gave us $300 for the future leaders of BU.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think that we covered what we were going to say before. We just need to be respected more by administration and seen as assets to the school right now.
Thank you. So We will begin our closing statements. You will each have 4 minutes to speak. You don't have to use the whole time. And True BU will begin first.
What we've talked about here are amazing ideas. You know, both sides, again, and we've mentioned this already, have a wealth of knowledge and ideas and experiences. But unfortunately, in the end, there's only going to be one president, one vice president of finance, and one vice president of internal affairs. But that doesn't mean that we exclude people. We will have an open student government. We will build community through communication. We will build community by empowering students to realize their potential. And we will build community by giving students something to see, something to believe in the future. Our team of our slate, but not just our slate, but again our staffers, have immense untapped potential. The point of student government is to celebrate students in every possible way, whether you're an artist, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a scientist, whether you're an athlete, whether you're an activist, and so on. That's because that's what the student government should do. Now, the student body has immense ambitions. For example, I designed and I managed a 1,400 square foot mural, and I helped empower 80 students who never even held a paintbrush before to create something impressive, something impressive in every sense of the word. And that's what we should be striving for. That's why we have innovation grants. That's why we have community building innovation grants. Now, we're done pushing to start. We have a path, we have a bearing, and all we need is you.
Okay, great. We would like to close and really tell all of you, I think we've harped a lot about our initiatives, and that's something that is very accessible for you all to read. But what you can't really hear, I think, from all of us is why exactly we want to run to represent you. I'm going to let Josh speak first because he is somebody who we added to the last person added to our slate. He just totally convinced us of his passions and his dreams for this school.
I chose to run because I'd been a part of student government for about a semester before I asked Richard to be on her slate. And I just saw the community that student government has and the impact that it has on campus. And I realized that the truest BU is really the communities and the relationships that people form between one another. And I believe with a position in student government, I can help foster those relationships because we don't have the school spirit and the circular campus, we're a long street, we're not necessarily connected. I believe that we should maximize the things that make us special, and I believe that through student government, that's something that we can totally do, and through this position, I could reach more people and create a greater environment just for all the BU students.
Sure. So I've kind of harped upon a little bit of this already, but one thing I'll just close with is that, I've been around people in student government really from the get-go, and initially I've always seen just the amount of passion that all of these people really have for BU, and that's in a tribute to everyone sitting up here tonight and everyone here who's involved with student government, and it's definitely inspired me to really get involved. And like I said, Richard reaching out to me and just kind of convincing me of the difference I could make through student government was a big reason why I chose to run. The passion I have for BU and in the 3 years I've been here and how much it's given me, I'd only hope to give back, even half as much would be amazing. And I think that in this position in student government, I'd be able to do that.
For me, I think it's unquestionable that we're all running because we want to serve the student body and student government. But I had positions in plenty of organizations. I'm a member in plenty of organizations. For me, this wasn't about another leadership position or more power or more influence over the school, because you can change BU through a variety of mediums. For me, this was about having an opportunity to work with an organization that is central to the school. Like Salma said earlier, student government is not just the representatives you see, it's the entire student body. And for me to be able to share that credit and that accomplishment of things that I can achieve in other student groups with the whole school is invaluable. I might not have been able this year to put 80 paintbrushes in 80 hands, but had I done it, I would have put 80 names on the mural. And for me, that's so important.
Thank you, Jamie. To be honest, why am I running for president? I cannot explain to you how valuable my experience has been with student government this year. I know that sounds cliche, but it sort of brightens me up. I don't know how else to put it. I love being somebody who can advocate for change in a room. I really love being somebody who gets to listen to people about what they care about, share their passions. Probably why campaigning has been so incredibly fun for me is that exact reason. And then I love being able to say, hey, let's figure this out. How can I actually make that happen? It's not a job, it's not a role, it's what I care about, and it's what I'm passionate about. And so having the opportunity to run and actually, be a part of this team and make that happen, that just is sort of, that's just sort of a dream come true for me, and I think the way to sort of culminate so far my time at BU.
Thank you.
Thank you. So to end the debate, we would like to start with Salma and go down the line, and I'd like to hear one word that you think really embodies student government at Boston University.
Should we explain the word or just say
Just say the word.
Community.
Passion.
Meaningful.
Empowerment.
Spirit.
initiative?
Change. The most time to think.
Time.
I'd have to say inclusive. Inclusive.
Thank you. So I'd like to thank you guys for keeping with the time, because you guys are awesome. But just a few words as we end. I've worked with several of you over the last year or so, and I want to say you guys are all really awesome candidates and students at Boston University. And I think no matter what happens in this election, I hope that you guys all stay friends and that you all continue to work at Boston or in student government like you guys all said that you would. With that, I'd also like to give a shout out to my fellow SEC members, the Student Election Commission. If you guys would please stand up and be recognized. This election and this whole process is possible because of these wonderful people. So just really thank you for that. So we have 4 more minutes. I would also encourage all the audience members whose questions were not asked to continue these conversations and continue asking these, whether on social media or tonight. Come up and ask these candidates yourself. You can find all of their information on our website, bu.edu/election, with profiles with pictures of the candidates. And voting begins on Monday, this following Monday at noon, and it will be online, and a link will be on the student link. And would we have 2.5 minutes, that would the president and the 2 president candidates maybe say 1 or 2 sentences of anything that you want. Because I've been told we need to.
Thank you. Thank you for everything, not just for being here, but thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for giving us ideas and having us work with you. And thank you for creating this amazing experience that is BU.
Took the words out of my mouth, I guess, but I just want to say that we are sort of so grateful for the opportunity we have to be up here. I mean, that comes directly from our supports, both personally as well as a collective support that we found at BU here. Gives us the passion and the courage and everything else, the strength to be up here right now speaking to you. I just want to actually end, because Lauren didn't give herself any credit. I want to end with a round of applause for Lauren, chair of the SEC. And that's it.
Thank you, thank you. We still have 2 minutes because we're on TV that we need to, what?
They know how to dance? I wouldn't get a
Oh, my stand-up? I was thinking about
Do it, Lauren,
rapping.
do it. Do it, Lauren, do it.
Oh, I don't tell you. No, okay. That's all. Thank you guys so much for coming out. But seriously, continue the conversations. Vote. Get your friends to vote. Like the SEC on Facebook to find out everything that's happening. Next week, we will be at the dining halls with iPads as voting booths to allow for students to vote there at Monday and Tuesday during dinner times, and then Wednesday and Thursday during lunch at the GSU. So thank you candidates.
Thank you.
That's all.